these things that you and I are talking about now, you know. It's, oh, come on, there's got to be one. Can't someone say something contrarian? No? Okay. Oh, there's one.
I guess that's the whole issue about evil. When our president says that he's going to eliminate all evil throughout the world and stamp it out, he's looking at definition of evil. It's his own interpretation. You know, the person who's an evildoer doesn't see himself as being evil. And in fact, he sees just the opposite. He sees himself as being benign, and the rest of the world, or those that he's attacking, as being evil ones. So, I think it's a real problem, the idea of evil. And I think the same thing with the Scopes trial, too. You know, you're looking at the question about evolution, those who are creationists versus those who believe in evolution. And I think you've got the battle between who's right, who's wrong, or who's evil. It must be those that believe in evolution must be evil for propagating this whole idea.
Right.
And maybe the evolutionists are saying, well, you're evil because you're trying to destroy something that's beautiful that we see. So, and it's trying to bring these two together is just very, very difficult.
I think that's a very interesting thing. In fact, one of the things that I find very touching in the Scopes trial is that at one point William Jennings Bryan says, how can you take from all of these children the idea of a everlasting life when they die? And if you think about, I believe religion was created by that desire to comfort children. But it is a terrible thing to take that from children. But then what can one say about truth? You know, about evidence building up, and what value does that have? I don't know. I mean, maybe there is something to be said for having, you know, as I came to the conclusion, if only one could have that kind of faith, the kind of solace that a real believer has, without having to throw, what is it that Santayana says? Skepticism is the chastity of the intellect, and to give it up too soon is undignified. That would be my view of life, but I don't know if it's a very happy view. I mean, maybe, you know, it's a tough thing, and I think that's a very poignant aspect of all of this. And
I realize you had to find very defined characters, and very defined, well-defined characters with strong personalities in Dayton. And I've heard you talk about really two extremes, the revelers at the bar and the fundamentalists. Did you associate with just regular people and they...
Oh, yes. I mean, I am now extremely friendly with two, I mean, I think they're regular, two young Christian students from Bryan College who I went for a long walk with, and who are now in Egypt, actually. And their view of everything was, I thought, completely balanced. They weren't fanatical on either side. And when I sort of looked at what their lives were about to become, I could see that what they had in their future was a lot more interesting than what a normal kid of their background would have. They might be missionaries. They had this whole network of Christian schools they could go to all over the world. They genuinely wanted to do good. I mean, they're now in Egypt doing good work. I think there's, you know, they were very balanced, and yeah.
Well, my question was not implying that there wasn't balance, because I have friends and family in Dayton. My question was, did you meet folks aside from Bryan College and the bar? The folks on the street.
Oh, yes. And there's a chapter actually about a woman who lives in Dayton used to live in Dayton called Gloria, who used to own the Magnolia House. Well, I met a lot of people, and you know, as I say in the book, one of the, I mean, in a way, I have to admit, I'm English, I'm from New York, and in a sense, I did come down with a slightly kind of like, I'm going to poke fun at rednecks, and so on. And everybody's been doing it for so long. Since Mencken, people have been coming down to Dayton and mocking them. And everybody was so nice and kind and polite and helpful that I completely I did change my view very much. And if I appear to be mocking about Mike and the gang in the bar, it's because they were very funny guys. You know, you couldn't help but. You know.
Well, that was my question. I just wondered because it's.
Did I meet any agnostics in Dayton? No. Did you ever?
Well, I don't know that many people in Dayton.
There you go.
But the ones I know are nice folks.
Oh, very nice. There's some very nice people there. And I tell you something else that I thought was very interesting about the whole thing, was that if you read the trial, if you read about the trial and you study the trial, the whole debate was conducted in a very gentlemanly fashion. And it was, you know, there was one incident that was staged where a man ran out of a barber shop with someone shooting at him. But I think that was staged by Rapelier to get more publicity. But I think if you staged this debate now, people would fear for their lives. I mean, perhaps not now because of what's happening with the, you know, we're all united against Islam. But I think that there is a fanaticism in the Christian community, and that could manifest itself in violence. You know, Timothy McVeigh. You know, so I think that was one of the great things about the trial. It was all done with sort of wonderful humor and gentlemanly behavior on both sides. You know.
You bring up that point about debate, that there was this, you know, gentlemanly precedent, even though it was a trial. And I notice that trials do seem to be the place where we do actually come with our intellects to assess what is the truth. And, you know, in the climate that we have now with, you know, the Islamic guys are the bad guys and we're the right guys, there doesn't seem to be that kind of debate. And I just wondered what you thought about, maybe in the past, how there was a Scopes trial. I came through the newspaper and everybody would discuss it. How, even though we have all this media, is there really this kind of objective discussion where dissident views are given any time at all?
I don't think so. And I think that the big difference of what you're talking about here is that in that trial, there were no corporate interests putting pressure on either side. The debates that you get now on television are, whether we like it or not, to some extent affected by who owns the television station, who they can or cannot offend. So you have the whole issue. I don't think the whole issue of America's foreign policy in the Middle East and its relationship to Israel and Palestine, I don't think it's being debated in a really interesting way. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. I really. This is literally the first time I've done this, and I couldn't have had a nicer audience, and I really thank you. You've been great. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I do.